Hi there, my name is Kate Petty. I am the trainer and specialist of CreateBoards here at LG, and I'm excited to share the CreateBoard with you today. We're going to take a high-level look at the CreateBoard with its Android 13 update. We're going to look at some things like where the settings are, where the applications are, and how to organize apps and just kind of get a good feel for it. In subsequent videos after this, we'll be sharing our top 5 settings that we hope you'll look at, and then also ways to customize the board. So I'm excited to share this journey with you, and let's get to it. All right, so this is the Android 13 version of the CreateBoard on the Android side. And you've got our typical purple and pink background, the date and time on the left. Just to the right of that is the place to sign in to your Google or OneDrive account. Now, why would you want to sign into this? For lots of reasons. First of all, I'm going to be able to access my files from OneDrive or Google Drive and use them with some of the applications here on the board. Conversely, I'll actually be able to save the projects I do on the board on our whiteboard apps and things like that right into my OneDrive or Google Drive account. So it's imperative that you want to sign in as soon as you can to be able to access all of those files and push files to those drives when you get a chance. So you just tap on the it itself. I'm logged into our LG Academy and our Google account, but you can add your Google Drive and or a OneDrive account if you have both, and then you can pull from one or the other whenever you'd like to. The next thing is you're seeing a lot of applications. This is, if you think about this as a big, huge Android tablet or a big, huge phone, you can hold down on things and move them around. You can move some things into others and create little folders for themselves. And I can actually name that if I wanted to whiteboard. Those are our whiteboard apps at the moment. And then I've got a nice little, I can organize my apps as I would like to. Now you noticed I did play around with the Google Play Store. We have access to that. Now not every organization is going to give teachers access to the Play Store. This may not occur. You may not see this on your board, but know that it does exist so that if you have applications and apps that you use that you'd like your IT department to push out, they'll be able to do that. You just access the Play Store if you do have this on your board, search for the app that you're looking for, and then it'll download and install right on the board. It'll generally install right up about here, and then you'll be able to bring it over and organize it wherever you'd like. So we've looked at the desktop, the sign in, and customizing apps in the Google Play Store. And you're kind of seeing the overview of the desktop. Let's take a look at the menu itself. So on the sides, you have 2 little arrows. So these are identical arrows. The identical things are in these little arrows. It's just for convenience, whether you're on one side of the board or not. I do find it's generally, if you're right-handed, you use the right one, and if you're left-handed, you use the left one. On the side, this is what I call the side menu. You have gray icons and purple icons. Now the 3 gray at the top and the 4 gray at the bottom are system settings that LG has overlaid over Android. The purple ones are apps themselves. So if I tap this little purple waffle in the middle, it will give me all of the apps that I would normally see from Google Mobile Services, but also apps that I may have installed on my own, like Edpuzzle here to the left, or Adobe Express over here to the left as well. So this is where all of the apps reside. Now you can take one of these apps, let's just take the calculator here, and I can move that and drag it over to the board if I want to. I can even drag it down to the bottom of the board as long as I've removed one of these. So if I remove, let's say, this folder icon and bring it up, it gives me a spot to bring the calculator and move it down there as well. So easy access to things, just by what you're used to, just by dragging and dropping. You can organize your apps and also pull apps out of that waffle. Now let's say I don't want the calculator on the board anymore. I just want it to reside over in the waffle. I can actually take it and move it up. And if I bring it up to remove, I'm not removing it from the board. I'm just removing that shortcut. So when I go to the waffle here, you'll see right in the center, I've got the calculator right back there. So again, removing apps from the board that way doesn't make them remove completely. All right, let's take a look at what we have. This is an Android board, which means that there are going to be Google mobile services there. And in my pinned app on the bottom, I do have the Chrome browser. And I can maximize the screen by just tapping the maximize button. And you'll notice that I just grayed out or put that window away, but you'll notice that there's no place now to X out of Chrome in the upper right-hand corner. You actually just have to slide your finger down a little bit at the corner there, and then you have the option to X out, but you also have the option to snap the screen to the side. So if I want to snap this screen to the side, I can actually open a second browser or another app to snap on the other side of it and be able to use both sides, at the same time. Maybe do a whiteboarding, some notes on one side and maybe watching a YouTube video or being on a website with the other. So a couple of other teacher things that I wanted to show you. I'll go into this fun Macbeth unit that I love. This is called My Shakespeare. It's a great little app. I met them at ISTE and they're a lot of fun. So we have some teacher toolkit is what I call them on the gray buttons at the bottom. So you can freeze, you can use the stopwatch. So the stopwatch will actually time the students doing something. So if you want to see how long it takes them to maybe do a math problem or what have you, you can do that. There's also the timer, the hourglass, where you can time it down. You start at 1 minute. You can actually make it go full screen. I suggest this does, when it gets down to 0, is very loud. Your students will definitely stop doing what they're doing when you get to that timer function. A couple of other tools is the spotlight. So this, I'm just pinching my 2 fingers in and out to make the spotlight big and small. I can just move it with 1 finger to one side or the other. I can also take this setting and change the clarity to lighter or darker. So I can move this circle and only have my students see one part of it. So I'm going to exit out of that and take a look at the other tools. So we also have Capture, which is taking a screenshot of the board itself. We have Record. I'm actually using Record right now. At the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the Record button functions. I have plugged in an external microphone in order for you to hear my voice to the USB port just below that, so that you can hear my voice and I'm recording at the same time. You also have screen lock. If I press screen lock, the board will go black and this video will go black. But what it does essentially is it locks the screen and then you put your code back in. So for instance, if you're headed to recess, or maybe you are just done with the board for a few hours and you just want to lock it so nobody can get into it, just lock it. It'll go to that lock screen. You put in your code and you'll be done from there. So those are some of the teacher toolkit options. I would suggest taking a look at what you can. We do have a whiteboarding app and an annotate feature, but those are kind of longer and more involved. So those will be separate videos that you'll be able to watch later on. So again, I'm just gonna swipe down a little bit in the left-hand corner and close out Chrome here. And we're going to take a look at the last couple of things that I wanted to show you. So in that waffle with all of these apps, one of those apps is Settings, and these are in alphabetical order. So just go down to Settings. You will find all of your board settings here. So you'll be able to find where you've got the display, so you can change the font size on the display to something bigger or smaller. I'd suggest my display right now is set at small, but you can make things a lot bigger, and it'll take a second to reverse. There it goes. And that's too big for me. So I actually like my font or my display size a little bit smaller than that. Let's give it a second to think about it and flash. And there we go. We also have wallpaper. So if you don't like that beautiful purple and pink on the desktop itself, just go over to wallpaper and you can change your wallpaper to also, these are all the categories, and you can change your wallpaper to one of the photos in these categories. You'll also have the option here to change the wallpaper to the lock screen. So you can have a different wallpaper for the lock screen versus the wallpaper here. And also add your own photo. So if you have a photo of your students, you and your students, a class photo, or maybe a school mascot photo, or maybe you took a beautiful landscape photo when you were on vacation last time and you just want to remember that all the time, you can add your own photo as the wallpaper. I would suggest you go through all of these different settings. We do have a top 5 settings you need to look at immediately. is the next video. So please look at that, because there are some settings that you really, really, really need to set to not be banging your head against the wall on a couple of things. But what you see on a normal tablet, you may not consider, setting. But on a screen, when you have a screen this big, there may be some settings in here, especially within the accessibility features, that make sense for a large board. So I would suggest kind of going through all the settings and taking a look at what is being offered there. Now I'm just going to click my side menu and go home. These other options are just below the home button. That is where all the apps that are open. So if you want to close an app, you'll just swipe up, kind of like as if you would on a phone or a tablet. You've got, again, your apps in the middle. Now these apps on the side menu, they're also customizable. So for instance, if I realize I start using that spotlight feature a lot, I actually drag it right onto, do that. There we go. Drag it right onto that side menu for ease. And if you don't want it anymore, you can always just drag it right back. All right, the last feature you want to take a look at is that share feature. And you do have the ability to share this screen two ways with your students. So you can actually have 9 devices on the screen in Brady Bunch style, watching what they're doing if you want to. They just have to go to share.lgcreateboard.com and put in this code, and you would accept them. It'll ask you to accept the device that's trying to be added. So the devices can't actually just willy-nilly, come on to the board itself. You will accept them, and then you can also have the option, if there was a device that was attached here and you go to this second on the bottom, you'll see menu and then devices. You could give them the option to be touch enabled, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just have view only as well. You notice that the code just changed, so you can decide how frequently that code changes. That's more of a classroom management issue. You don't want the students to be continually asking to share to the board if you don't want to. There are a few options here in the settings. The code refresh rate, I have mine set at every 10 minutes. The floating window size, so if you don't want that code, you see this code at the top. If you don't want that code to be always visible, you can make it go to mini size so that the code isn't there. You can also just close it, so the code, that little black window doesn't appear at all. And then in order to access it back again, you'll go to your purple waffle over here on the side, and you'll go to share, again in alphabetical order, and then you can reinstate that. So you can find share again back in the apple waffle, or in the apps purple waffle over there on the side. The other thing is, this is where you can change it from 4 screens to 6 screens or 9 screens. Again, kind of a Brady Bunch style, but there are options here. Now, that is to share to the board. You can also share the board to your device. For instance, if you're using it and maybe you're doing some online learning or some hybrid learning, you want to be able to share this board to your Zoom or your Hangouts or your Teams call, you can share the board to your device. Another reason you might share the board to a device is you can actually share the board to your phone or your tablet and control this board from way back on the other side of the classroom. You just need to download the LG Share app, and then it'll ask for that code. You'll put the code in and you'll be able to manipulate the board from anywhere in the classroom. Now, my suggestion though, you can do that, but there's another way that you can manipulate the board from the back in the classroom, and that is to just plug in a USB mouse to the front of the board in the bottom right-hand corner there. By doing that, if you set up a station in the back of the classroom, you can use the mouse to manipulate the board as well. It's a little more user-friendly to do it that way. And you setting up that station in the back of the classroom, you'll start learning the behaviors of the students with the board in the front of the classroom, and learn a little bit about how to effectively manage the classroom with the board, and whether, what kinds of steps you need to take in order to make that be efficient and simplistic in your classroom. So that's kind of an overview on Android. The last thing I wanted to show you is, if you are using this board with another input, maybe you've plugged your computer in, or your organization has chosen to get an OPS slot-in device on the side for Chromebook or for Windows, you can change the input by clicking the on the gray menu here, it's the first of the last. So I'm kind of holding it down right now, but it's not that one. It's this one, and it's the one underneath the waffle. And this is where you'll be able to go to the different inputs. So if you've plugged in a USB-C, if you've plugged in an HDMI, you'll be able to find those inputs and change input here. The home screen is always going to be the Android input. So if you ever want to get back to this Android view, you'll just take a look at that Android input. So we've looked at the desktop and how to sign in. We've looked at how to customize and organize apps. You can move them around the board. You can move them into the pinned apps at the bottom or the pinned apps, on the side menu. You can also push them into each other and create folders of similar whiteboard apps, or of apps in general. Mine was whiteboard. You can access Chrome, and you saw how to split a screen. All of the apps that are on the board, so here's my YouTube, all of the apps have that option to split the screen. You just click here. They all have this little square at the very top bar where you can split the screen in half or go quadrants. So all of the apps will have that. You can split the YouTube here, and then you can add Chrome and split Chrome over on the other side if you want to, or any other app. And then we looked at the teacher tools. So we have all of the hourglass, the timer, the freeze, stopwatch, screen lock, capture, record, and spotlight. And then we looked at the share functions. So that is it for the overview demo of Android 13. All right, so that is a quick overview on the Android 13 CreateBoard version. We looked at the desktop, we looked at how to find some applications, how to organize them, and some teacher toolkit options. Now don't forget, we have 2 more videos for you to take a look at. The first one are the top 5 settings we hope you do right away. And the next one is ways to customize that Android part of your CreateBoard to give it your own spices and flavors. We'll see you next time in the next video.